Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be reviewing a novel that my book group just met to discuss, and that's William Kent Krueger's novel, The River We Remember. I've mentioned this in a few of my earlier videos, but I wanted to wait until after our meeting and our discussion in order to review it here. This is the third William Kent Krueger novel that I've read after Ordinary Grace and This Tender Land, two books that I loved. I loved this third one too. Krueger has written over 20 mysteries in his Cork O'Connor series, but these novels that I've read are not a part of that series. Rather, these are all standalone novels. My book group was almost unanimous in our appreciation of this novel and of Krueger's writing style. There was only one member in the group who wasn't really very fond of this story. Sheriff Brodie Dern is a decorated World War II hero who avoids the local Decoration Day or Memorial Day festivities in Jewell, Minnesota in 1958. Which tells us early on in the novel that there is much more to Dern's war experiences than the medals for heroism with which he has come home. While most people in town are celebrating, he is answering a call to investigate the death of a local resident. An unpopular, even hated landowner, Jimmy Quinn, has been found dead in the Alabaster River, the river referred to in the novel's title. Quinn has been shot in the chest, and his face has been eaten by catfish in the river. This all happens in the first few pages of the novel. While Brodie Dern wants to think that this death is the result of an accident or maybe a suicide, most people in town are quick to conclude that a local Native American man, Noah Bluestone, a Dakota Sioux, and also a war veteran and a career military man, must be guilty of Quinn's death. Bluestone and his young Japanese wife, Kyoko, both worked for Jimmy Quinn, who owned the land that had at one time belonged to the Bluestone family. Quinn had recently fired Noah for supposedly stealing from him. So most of the townspeople are very quick to determine that Noah Bluestone must be Quinn's killer. While there isn't a lot of actual evidence against Bluestone, and while there are plenty of people who hated Jimmy Quinn, and might even want him dead, the circumstantial evidence against Noah Bluestone and people's prejudices against both him and his Japanese wife have him practically tried, convicted, and sentenced before he is even arrested. There is an extensive cast of secondary characters in this novel who also add a great deal to the overall quality of the story. In addition to the characters I've already mentioned, there's also Connie Graff. He's the retired sheriff who returns to help out Brodie as a deputy. He's one of the few townspeople not interested in condemning a man before he has even had a trial. And he becomes committed to protecting Bluestone's wife, who is being threatened by all sorts of people. There's also Angie Madison, a widow whose husband was killed in the war. She runs the local eatery, and she's also the mother of 14-year-old Scott Madison. She becomes a potential love interest for Brody Dern. She has some deep, dark secrets in her past that threaten her present. Her son, Scott, 14, is a Boy Scout and an all-around pretty great kid. He was born with a hole in his heart, a physical defect mentioned frequently in the novel, and this also takes on a symbolic value in the course of the story. He's your typical teenager for 1958 who finds himself in some very dangerous, atypical situations. There's also Charlotte Charlie Bauer, the attorney who takes on Noah's case, even though he doesn't really want legal representation. We get to know all of these characters and quite a few others too over the course of this 400-plus page novel. One thing they all have in common is that everyone is struggling with deep wounds. Some are purely physical, some are psychological, and some are both. Almost everyone is also dealing with secrets in their lives that no one else knows. And for the most part, these secrets become a very important part of the story. Additionally, many of the characters are connected to the Alabaster River in some significant way. This river, around which many of the important events of the novel take place, is more than simply a part of the setting. It is almost a character itself. It links all of the characters together. The narrator states at one point, quote, "Our lives and the lives of those we love merge to create a river whose current carries us forward from our beginning to our end. Because we are only one part of the whole, the river each of us remembers is different. And there are many versions of the stories we tell about the past. In all of them, there is truth. And in all of them, a good deal of innocent misremembering." Close quote. A little extra special something about this book is that there are also references to my beloved Holden Caulfield and The Catcher in the Rye running throughout the novel. One of the things that motivates Holden in Salinger's novel is that he wants to devote his life to protecting little children from the loss of their innocence. This same motif recurs throughout The River We Remember. Several of the characters have participated in a book discussion group where they have read Salinger's novel. Brody Dern isn't sure that he liked the novel, but then he repeatedly returns to the idea that appeals to him a great deal, that idea of Holden Caulfield standing in a field of rye, protecting little kids from falling off a cliff. He comes to see himself at different times as a catcher in the rye, as trying to preserve the innocence of others also. And though not directly stated, there are also echoes of To Kill a Mockingbird all throughout this book. I said in an earlier video that this novel also reminded me of David Guterson's novel, Snow Falling on Cedars. And Guterson said in talking about his book that he was paying homage to Kill a Mockingbird and to Romeo and Juliet, two of his favorite books to teach when he was an English teacher before the publication of his first novel. I think William Kent Krueger is doing the same thing, giving a nod to all of these great books and The Catcher in the Rye also, all of these great books that have come before his. This is an elegantly written novel. It's a complex story with several different subplots, all of which intertwine and intermingle, sort of like that image of the river. Our lives and the lives of those we love merge to create a river whose current carries us forward from our beginning to our end. I loved this book, and I'm going to be reading more of William Kent Krueger's novels in the future. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.